Hi, it's Rabbi Chaim Kaufman. Welcome to our 261st installment in the Torah portion of the week. We are holding outside of the land of Israel, holding by Parshas Beha'aloscha. Parshas Beha'aloscha talks about the menorah, everything you wanted to know about the menorah. It talks about the Paschal offering, right? If the Jews could not, or some Jews, let's say, they were impure, and they couldn't bring the Paschal offering at the right time. So it talks about that. It talks about the Jewish people traveling. You have the order of breaking camp. You have the people who complained. Right? They missed the fish. They missed the fish. From Egypt and all that. So the Torah tells me, chapter 11 verse 25. The Torah tells me, Hashem descended in a cloud, spoke to him, and increased some of the spirit that was upon him, and gave it to 70 men, the elders. When the spirit rested upon them, they prophesied, but did not do so again. So what do we see? They continued to prophesy. They didn't stop. They didn't stop prophesying over here. Right? So what's going on? Right? What's going on over here? So it says, Mori Rebbe, Arav Agon, Ramosh Shlita, this should be well. And he brings down in his commentary in Chumash and Tam V'das, and he brings down from the Ksav Sofer. Ksav Sofer explains it wasn't like they were adding on to what they were saying before. Why? Because the elders were there. They didn't move. Right? So they were still going. They were continuing. They were adding on to their level of understanding. To the level of where they're holding. So we see from here, says my Rebbe, you see from Eldad and Medad, they didn't, where do they get their prophecy, so to speak? The prophecy came not necessarily because of their level, but it was what we call L'tzorech Shah. It was for the sake of that time. Right? In other words, during that time, where God's presence was still there, they can still feel it. So that's how we had this nevuah. That's how we had this prophecy. But not necessarily because, they're on a special level. Necessarily. So then they stopped. They didn't continue to prophesy. So what? So they stopped. They didn't stop. What do we learn out? So my Rebbe says something very important here. He says, for people learn Torah, they learn Torah on a regular basis, in order that they should raise themselves to a high spiritual level, they always have to continue striving, learning Musar, right, in their service to God. In order they shouldn't come under this category that they prophesy, they didn't stop. Right? So what do we see? Somebody learns. See, however much a person learns during the day, it doesn't matter. The point is that a person continues to learn. A person continues to grow. What's the hard part? The hard part is that a person already learned this. They've gone through the Parsha before. Not like the first time they're learning the Parsha. Not like the first time they're reviewing the laws of Shabbos, or the laws of blessings, or a different Gemara that they've learned, or whatever. Not the first time they've done it, not the second time they've done it. Something like that, a person's commitment to Torah mitzvahs is going to show how important the Torah is. Even if you learned it before. What's the hard part? Besides review. The hard part is you learn. How do you learn something that you've seen once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 100 times, and look at it like you never saw it? Like starting fresh. So that's also not an easy thing. But see, we can never rest on our laurels. Doesn't matter what the rest of the world is doing. Doesn't matter as an 18-year-old, 19-year-old guy once told me, Rabbi, come on, I'm holding better than 95% of world Jewry. I want you to cut me some slack. So I said, even if I agree, what if God doesn't agree? What if you have greater potential? Right? You might have greater potential over here. So if that's true, you have to learn, you have to continue to learn, you have to continue to grow. You have to work on yourself. You have to have discipline. You have to continue to have discipline. Right? A person's going to have to work hard their whole lives. But people would say, oh, Tanakh, how do you learn that? Right? Nothing new for me to learn. So yeah, if a person looks at it like a 5-year-old, you're right, there's nothing for you to learn. But the Torah is infinite. You know, it's as long as the earth, it's as wide as the sea, it's infinite. A tremendous amount of knowledge we can acquire. And year in and year out, we're going to change the way we think. We're going to have more knowledge. We're going to look at things differently. You can't always look at the thing the same way. But that's Torah growth. So Rebbe here says, you want to raise yourself to a higher level in spirituality. We're not standing around. Right? We're not standing around. We're constantly working and striving in Avodas Hashem. We're striving for new ways to raise ourselves to higher spiritual levels. And not be satisfied where we are. Not be happy with mediocrity. God's not interested in mediocrity. He wants us to be the best. And He wants us to continually strive. Staying the same. Right? Someone once told me that, yeah, I'm happy where I am. Being happy where you are is akin to spiritual death. That's what it is. We got to continually grow. Because nobody, and this, been ingrained in me for many, many years, nobody knows in the end what their potential is. We have no idea. So we have to work hard. And we have to continually work hard. And that's not an easy thing. But you want to grow. You can't be stagnant. Now you could tell me we hit valleys, plateaus. We go up, we go down. But we always want to continue going up. We always want to continue trying to serve God at a higher level. That's what we're striving for. We have to serve Him anyway, true. But we want to make the most efforts, day in and day out, squeeze out whatever potential we have. Because the problem is we think we're here forever. Fame, right? We think we're here forever. What does King David say? King David says in the book of Psalms, we're here 70 years. And if we have strength 80 years, everything after that's a bonus. So we don't know. Nobody knows. We have to take stock every single day. Think about what I've done. Did I accomplish? Didn't I accomplish? Where I went right, where I went wrong. So I saw brought down in the Mesilas Yesharim, Path of the Just. The Ramchal says, he says, for sure, a person has to work on character traits. They have to work on their bad character traits. But he said something to me was a real novelty. And that is, he said, you also have to work on your good traits. If a person's got good character traits, whatever those good traits are, so I would say, okay, you have them, good, you can use them. But who says I have to work on them and make them better? I would have said, okay, you have them, fine. You want to make sure, they stay strong, I guess, and you stay on that right path. But if someone's already good at something, why are they going to work on it? So you say, come on, someone's good, let's say, at a sport. You're not just going to say, well, I'm happy where I am. You want to perfect it. Person wants to perfect the craft. So too, that's what we should want. Even though certain things we do good, perfect it. Make it unbelievable. You're good at doing chesed, go beyond. But to me, there's a novelty. Because most people, I don't think, if they're good at something, You're not going to work that hard. A person, let's say algebra, they're good at. That's a bad example, but let's say. So you're going to work hard at algebra to perfect it? No. You know you don't have to work that hard. So if you know you don't have to work that hard, fine. You're not going to go beyond. Why would you do that? You say, come on, it's only math. You can say the same thing about sports. Person's got a tremendous gift as an athlete. Now, if you don't work on it, you're not going to grow that way. You're not going to get better. You're not going to perfect your craft. You'll be lazy. And a person does that, and they have real potential to lose out. Potentially lose out a lot. So you got to have a lot of discipline. Especially if you have to stay in shape. Yeah, you don't want to run another 2 miles, get up early, watch your diet, this, that. You're right, but what's the end result? The end should justify the means. But we're lazy. We'll work on things that are hard for us. Maybe we'll give up. Maybe. But things that don't come so easy, that we'll work on. That we don't necessarily have a problem working on. Working on something I'm good at, you need a lot of discipline for such a thing. But you want to grow in Avodas Hashem. You want to be the real deal. You want to be close to God. You got to work on even things that you do that are good. You got to perfect them and work on bad character traits. No free lunch. There's a lot to do. People always want to learn new things. So a person's learning, let's say, a certain tractate. So you always want to go further. Cover ground. But what about the ground you covered? What about review? Review, in some ways, could be like a four-letter word. I don't want to review. Not just we're lazy. But I already learned it. But you're not just going to say the words over. You're going to think about it. Think about what the commentaries say. Put it back in your mind to make sure you have it like the back of your hand. Then you move on. But you won't move on. You shouldn't move on otherwise. You go over it, you go further. And then after you go further, you review what you did, you review what you did before, and come back. Because the more times you go out over it, the more it becomes like the back of your hand. Right? Because it's brought down that a person should be able to answer. Someone asks you a question, you should be able to answer like this. You should be able to answer very quick. That's how clear the knowledge should be. But listen, there's a lot to know. We sometimes forget. Gotta look things up. Have to review. So I don't have to review Musar also. What I do wrong. Work on that. Take small steps. But also work on what I'm good at. Work on serving God to the best of my ability day in and day out. Raising yourself higher and higher. Isn't that, says the Ramchal in Derech Hashem, in the way of God, isn't that what should have happened to Adam, the first man? If he would have listened to the first command that God gave him, don't eat from the tree, he would have grown spiritually, more spiritual. Went in the Garden of Eden, that's the end of creation. That's it, end of story. But obviously that's not what happened. Right, so what should have happened with Adam is his soul should have been so great, should have basically turned his body into a spiritual being, whatever that means. And gone level after level after level. But it didn't happen. We have to try and do that. Can't rely on how I was yesterday or the day before. Have to continue to grow. Have to continue to learn. Have to continue to try and reach higher levels. Within reason. Again, baby steps. Baby steps are good as long as you can do them. You don't bite off more than you can chew, because comes along Moreinu Rabbeinu, the Yetzer Hara. The evil inclination's going to say, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go to this level. Go to that level. Go to the next level. Everything's good. But it's hard. Because if you do that, you'll fail. 100% you'll fail. Because you see, you can't do it. You see, it's too hard. And then the Yetzer is going to say, see, you couldn't do it. Don't bother. You'll never do it. It'll break you. So one important thing within Judaism is a person, to the best of their ability, they have to be consistent. They have to do things consistently. Sometimes you do it better, sometimes worse. But you got to be consistent. If a person says, yeah, I'll do this, and maybe we'll do that, and there's no consistency, there's no rhyme or reason. It's like a hodgepodge. Person's not going to grow. Person has to have the ratzon, they have to have the desire to want to grow, to want to go in the right direction. But you take it step by step. You take it day by day. And we put in effort, tremendous effort to do that. And we can't be lazy. We can't rest on our laurels. We can't just say, I'm striving for mediocrity. We're going to strive to be the best we can be. That's what we have to do. Is it easy? No. But if I'm consistent, it has an effect. Doesn't mean we're perfect. Right? Person has a set schedule, when they're going to pray, different things. You got to be consistent. Because consistency is crucial. Even again, if it's something small, that's still okay. As long as you're doing things on a regular basis. But you have to put in the effort. The effort over here is crucial. Because trying to raise yourself to a higher spiritual level day in and day out, it's hard work. It's very hard work. Sometimes we're more inspired, less inspired. A lot of other things going on. But isn't it worth it? Of course it's worth it. Because then you're working on being closer to God. Because the harder I work, the closer I am. And hopefully we don't have setbacks. But you can't say, wow, look what I did today. Tomorrow's another day. You got to build on what we did today. Build on what I did yesterday. That's how you grow. Now, that doesn't mean you won't have trials, you won't have tribulations, you have plenty. You'll have plenty over here. But we have to take stock. We have to think. We have to have goals. The important thing about having goals is making them realistic. It has to be something I'm able to reach. And do it over and over and over again. So you see accomplishment. You don't set goals that are too high. But the recipe for disaster. It has to be realistic. Because if not, comes along the evil inclination. The evil inclination going to have a field day. Oh, come on, you tried this, it didn't work. Tried that, didn't work. You're a loser, you're a failure, you won't do it. Right? And we may agree. Because we've already tried before. Maybe we had a little bit of success, but the evil inclination knows and we know inside. We know deep down. What I've accomplished, what you haven't accomplished. So here my Rebbe says, at all times, person has to be striving. Has to be working hard on their goals to be close to God. And that takes work. It takes a lot of work. But in the end, it's well worth it, because what do you have in the end? You know what you have in the end? You have a closer relationship to God. That's worth millions. That 100% is worth millions. And that you can take to the bank. I remind everyone, I give a class on duties of the heart every Tuesday, 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Sunday, I have a packed day, Book of Leviticus, chapter 16, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 4 o'clock Israel Time. Noahide Nations, 2:30 Eastern Time, 9:30 Israel Time, 2 Q&As every Tuesday and Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Israel Time. Pirkei Avos, Ethics of Our Fathers, that's every Saturday, 2:30 Eastern Time, 9:30 Israel Time. And Thursday night, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, is Tanakh Talk, Controversial Issues. I also give conversion classes. Anyone interested in any of this, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, or be on Orthodox Conversion Judaism. You can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com.